Welcome to the Open Tech Talks podcast. And today we have a special guest with us, Kavita Ganesan. She's the founder of Opinosis Analytics, and she's a Ph.D. in artificial intelligence. And we have also an author, book author. So I think today we are going to have a good session with Kavita. So let's first welcome Kavita on the Open Tech Talk podcast. And may I ask, Kavita, if you introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. Thank you for having me, Kashif. And so I'm Kavita, and I've been in the AI space since 2005, long before AI became a very sexy topic that it is today. So I came in when it was pretty boring.
All
And
right.
in the initial days, I was mostly on the AI research side of things, where I did my
Right.
master's in the field, PhDs also in AI, specifically in NLP, machine learning, and text mining technologies. And after I graduated is when I started working on a lot of different industry problems. So, for example, at 3M, I worked on a lot of clinical NLP problems. So,
Mhm.
building models from scratch for clinical NLP tasks. Then at GitHub, I worked on code, so understanding source code. So it was a form of NLP, but more on code rather than on spoken language. And then now I'm actually helping clients implement AI in their company. And this can be in different ways. Like some clients need help designing their AI products
Right.
and they don't know how to get started. Like, is this even an AI product to start with? Or is there a simpler way of doing things? So helping them think through every step of their journey is part of
Mhm.
what I do. And for other clients, like enterprise clients, they want more strategic help. Like, how do I think about AI or introduce AI to my executives, train them? So I do a mix of consulting, training, and also like designing systems.
All right. Great.
Yeah.
So, as you mentioned, so you did your MSc, then PhD. After that, you were
Mhm.
working in a couple of companies, and now you started your own consulting firm. So, how this transformation happened before we go to actual transforming the customers? So
Sure,
what leads
yeah.
you
So
to?
yeah, so as I was solving this bunch of industry problems, I was also writing blogs about it, like
Mhm.
technical blogs,
All
like how
right.
do you do this NLP task or what I did at GitHub. So this
Mhm.
got the attention of other companies and they started reaching out to me to help them with their AI initiatives. So I got a little bit into consulting and I really liked it because I got to learn a new domain and I'm working directly on problems as opposed to trying to navigate company bureaucracy. So I
Mhm.
found this very rewarding. So I got
Mhm.
more and more into consulting. And then when COVID happened, I decided to stop, write my book, and then focus on my consulting work rather than become an employee again. So that's how I
Okay.
took this journey.
So is
Yeah.
it one woman consulting, or how is it you onboard or already onboarded the employees, or what's going on?
Yeah, so for the strategy and all the management consulting work, it's primarily me who's doing most of the work. But for implementation projects, I hire freelancers, different consultants to work on them. But I generally design these systems
Hmm.
first. If they're doing implementation, make sure the thinking behind it is correct, and
Hmm.
then we collaborate on the implementation. So you can say it's a one-man head with a few consultants contributing.
All right. All
Yeah.
right. So it's been last, I think, approximately 3 years. So how is the experience? Is it till now going on with own consulting?
Um, so it's I really like it because there's a lot of problem solving, not
Hmm.
just on the so for me, the easy work is the client work. So doing the AI part. The
Hmm.
hard part is the entrepreneurial journey.
Right. Right.
So the marketing, the lead generation, making sure the pipeline is going.
Yeah.
So that part I'm still learning because I didn't start off as a marketer or a salesperson.
Right.
I'm a technical person.
Right.
So yeah, so I've learned quite a bit since the time I started. I started by reading a lot of books, which gave me ideas but was not helpful. So what really helped was the experimentation, like what's working, what's not working, what I should be focusing on, what's a time waster. Because I also need to balance client projects with all these other marketing efforts. Yeah.
And I can understand it. It's a technical background guy. I mean, or a girl, he's coming into this, then he need to, or she need to spend a lot of time on other areas, which maybe is not favorable. And that same thing happens with me. I mean, I spent whole life my in enterprise architecture, and then I started a couple of years back doing this MSc in AI. Right now, I just submitted my dissertation, and the topic was on healthcare, on the early
Nice.
pregnancy, finding out that, and I work in a support and sales organization. So sometimes I'm stuck between a technical mind or a sales support mind.
Yes.
So that's always a thin line between
A
two, and I
challenge.
challenge.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
sometimes you love it that okay, you give me task, I will deliver it, do a tech stuff, and then give it to back to you.
Yeah.
But you need to have, when you talk to customers, you need to have a different mindset from a sales point of view.
Mhm.
All right. So let's take an example of maybe a healthcare customer. I saw one blog even on your site, which was talking about that how we are improving maybe a sentiment analysis or patient experience transformation, or any customer which you would like to
Yeah.
just discuss it. I mean, it's nothing to do. But if apart from now with the last 2 3 months of ChatGPT and all that, but AI was on the agenda for any organization. And primarily, AI or machine learning was either some vendors are exposing to the customers, or it's coming through a Gartner or IDC or McKinsey push it that, okay, it's a hype cycle, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Or some real problems or use cases were there, which was the driving factor from our customers. So how you see right now and how you are driving with the customer, if there's a customer X in any industry,
Yeah.
and if they approach you, so as a consulting background, I know you're working with it, so how you run through with them? It's just some
Yeah.
pointer which can help
Sure.
audiences that if they want to go through as in a strategy or any project, what they should be
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah, I would say that I have two broad categories of customers. One is the startups. So startups, when they come to me, they already have a product idea, and they have a very good instinct on where the AI may be useful. I don't know how
Right.
they do it, but they already know where AI is useful. So I help them refine the idea. And also startups come with very little money. So you
Right.
can't propose solutions that are going to break their bank. So I'll have to think about what is the best way for this AI piece to be to materialize with limited resources. So
Right.
instead of trying to use a supervised approach, is there an unsupervised approach we can use without any requirements for label data? So like for the current startup I'm working for, I'm actually designing an unsupervised approach, and we have plans to later make it more supervised through data collection mechanisms. But the approach that I'm suggesting can scale up to millions of products without needing label data. And it's also, the cost is contained to the development costs, my advisory costs, and integration costs. So that is how I work with AI product startups. Then there's another group of customers. They are bigger. They have heard about AI. Like, for example, one customer contacted me from a real estate domain, and they want to know more about it. They want to know where they can use it in their operations. So for these type of customers, usually we start with like education, very high level education on what is AI and what is this noise behind generative AI? Where does that fit into the picture? And also like, what are the use cases they can benefit from, just to get them thinking and set the expectations right about AI. Because usually they think AI is this one magic pill that can solve one whole automation problem. But really, it's going to solve only specific parts of a problem. And they don't know that until you show them that. So it's different, clients have different needs.
Right. And
Yeah.
and I second to that, these enterprise customers where maybe they nowadays it's like fashion that they need to do something on AI or a blockchain. So a couple of years back, blockchain, and now again back AI in the town. So if an IT manager or application manager and he works in an enterprise company, what should be his priority or how he should be taking AI in his organization? Any suggestion being working with these
Sure.
type of customers you can give them? I give them this type of skills
Yeah.
or profiles that what they should be doing it.
Yeah, I would start by talking to different customers within the company. So let's say you talk to your customer service team. You want to know where there's a lot of manual work, where there's a lot of inefficiencies. So try to get a sense of their overall pain points. And some of them will be just plain software engineering problems, and a small percentage may be good for AI. So
Right.
they want to first get stock of such problems in the company. So even if they talk to 2 or 3 customers, they'll start getting a sense where the problems mostly lie for AI. And then they can prioritize from that. Like, if this is a potential AI problem, is this really an AI problem? Maybe talk to the experts to see, hey, can AI really solve this? And then figure out if they have the data to support that initiative. If not, start collecting the data so that in the future you can approach it. So then they can prioritize which ones are implementation ready, which ones have off-the-shelf tools, which ones should be put in the roadmap for maybe next year, not now. So yeah, that's how I would recommend they get started.
Okay. And now this brought me to another point, which I saw that you wrote in book, The Business Case for AI. So I think it's related to this type of customers or the audiences, maybe that how they can build a business case within for their enterprise. Or maybe you can give a context to it that what you wrote a book about it and what they
Yeah.
can get out of it, how this book can help them.
Yeah. So the book has like 4 or 5 major parts. The first part is like framing your thinking. So understanding what really AI is. It's not one bot. It's a coming together of subdisciplines and where these subdisciplines apply and what they mean. So really framing your mindset that AI is not 100% accurate. It's going to make mistake. It's not. It's also biased just like humans because the data that it's fed in. So really understanding that. That's the first part. The second part is about understanding where you can use it, like where it's being used currently. So it's trying to spark ideas within the organization, like within stakeholders in the organization. Then the third part is, I think it's on frameworks. So now that you know about all this, how do you translate that into frameworks that you can use in your workflow? Like, how do you find opportunities in your workflow? So what is an AI opportunity? What is not an AI opportunity? So I give like step by step how to find those. So if you're doing something manually, is this an AI opportunity based on a few criteria? Like, does this solve a complex decision-making problem? Does this problem recur? Is this a high workload problem? So I ask series of questions to figure out which ones are the AI opportunities. So that's one framework. Another framework I teach is how to develop your AI strategy for your company. So what are the things you need to be looking into? And I talk about the 5 preparation pillars, like you need data to start with. You need cultural readiness. So data readiness, cultural readiness, infrastructure readiness, skills. So I talk about these pillars and also how to then find the gaps in your company and then put together a strategy based on these gaps. So basically like a broad way of getting AI into the organization. Then it talks about how to think about build versus buy AI. Like what are the advantages versus disadvantages? You may think that buying may be a short-term solution, but if it doesn't work on your data, then it's not a solution at all. So it's best done manually. So giving them a framework to think through that is also another key piece of that book. And then finally, the final part is how do you measure success? So a lot of times people relate AI success to financial success.
Right.
But it may not be the case. It might be related to reducing the burden on your employees and helping them become more effective. For a very specific task, like if they're doing a manual review of something, with the use of AI, they might be doing less of that. And due to that, there may be less burnout. So how to think about this AI ROI, how to come up with metrics. So there is a whole framework there where I talk about AI success is made up of user success, model success, and business success. So it's not just a good model. It's way beyond that. Yeah.
And it's not only a tech challenge that which you are building a model, right? You need to link it to the business context.
Reals.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
One of the point you mentioned, I think in your conversation regarding these build versus buy or acquire from a service, right? And I think that's maybe resonated to me that a lot of vendors they coming up with to address the citizen scientists or these type of I think personas. Like, okay, there is a vision service or there is a translation service. So it's a package one, and then you go and just start using it. And now, and maybe it's not a build; it's you're consuming it. So how you see the adoption to that one? Is it in early stage or is it still in the more build phase of customers are going, or how do you see?
So there are a lot of customers who try those tools, the prepackaged tools. But what they don't understand is they should not buy until they've tested. And they need to test it on their data using their own metrics. So they tend to believe the metrics published by those vendors. Like they will say, hey, we have 90% accuracy on facial recognition. You should use our tool. I mean, if you fall for that, you are likely to be disappointed because on your data, it might be just 60% because it's a whole different data set that you're using it on. So that's the part that they miss. But that's a very good option to start with because the cost is contained and you don't have to build these models. You don't have to customize them. You just use them in your workflow. But try a few and see which one works best on your data to start with.
All right. Yeah. So what idea came in your mind to write this book? I mean, what inspired you to write a book? Is it like over the years your cumulative knowledge by publishing it, or was like some started getting questions from different audiences, and then you thought, no, let's put it a book because that's more of giving them answer.
Yeah. So over the years, I've seen many AI projects fail. And not because the problems were unsolvable or the techniques were unavailable. It was a lot of confusion. Like one example is a product manager was thinking that AI can automate an entire workflow, but that's not how it works. It solves specific problems. For an entire workflow, you may need 2 or 3 AI systems working together. So that type of confusion often led to AI initiatives being shelved or just failing completely for no real reason. And then they say that, hey, AI is actually a gimmick. Doesn't create any value. But really, they're using it for the wrong problems and the expectations from it is not correct. So before I wanted to get into deeper and deeper into my consulting work, I wanted to establish like a baseline knowledge base that all clients should have. And if I need to point back to anything, it should be in the book. So, which is kind of how I had that idea. And I wanted that idea to be more widespread. So that's why I started writing the book.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Then I'm sure it is going to help a lot of customers and or like I mean your students and then other people who are working in an enterprise space and they want to learn it, how to implement it basically in our organization. Now, while organizations are working on AI projects, and traditionally we know that they were storing data in either databases, which are like Oracle database, RDBMS, right, traditionally. And this is their own data, or if they are getting unstructured data or from other crawling or other open data. Now, how you are injecting ethical AI into the space? I mean, are you talking on with the customer that even in their whole pipeline, whatever they're doing it's not like implementing a back office. So how you're addressing it, or maybe infusing parts that you need to data bias, or maybe algorithm bias, or maybe even confirmation bias, could be anything. So how you are supporting it, or maybe bringing a topic for discussion.
Yeah, good point. So one of the clients came up to me and said, I want to use OpenAI's ChatGPT for one of my tasks. And they said it works well, but only thing that it makes up answers when it doesn't know the answer. Then the first question I asked them is, so is your data proprietary? Yes. So do you want your data to be exposed to the third party, or somebody else collecting the data through intercepts? And they said their data is highly proprietary. So, so I told them, then maybe that is a cloud API is not the solution for you. You'll have to look at an internal solution. And then I don't know what happened out of that, because they were disappointed that they couldn't use ChatGPT. But a lot of clients come to me with, I want to use this, I want to use that, but I help them think through it first, and then they'll decide whether they want to pursue that route or not. So, and bias is one of it, like bias and like data privacy, security. So all of those things are in the initial stages of discussion.
All right, because that's one of the things which I'm observing, it is being ignored in the spirit of that I want to have AI, and then you ignore the rest of the things I just wanted to. All right, now maybe one more question, a couple of more, not one.
Sure, yeah.
Regarding the data pipeline, if customer is new to the AI, so what suggestion or maybe advice you can give them to get ready even before embarking on a project or looking into it? Is there any pointers or tips which anyone can, as a takeaway from our conversation?
Yeah, so assuming you have identified maybe a few very high impact initiatives, you want to understand what's the state of data behind the scenes. So are you collecting the necessary data behind those initiatives? And you'll have to understand what data is needed for that to support that. Maybe not now, maybe in the future. So I would start by ensuring the data is being collected to start with. It's usable. That means it's not behind some fancy security that you can never access it ever, unless it's PHI or something. And also it's in a usable form, like you're not just collecting data in a very messy format, but it's somehow formatted in a way that it can be used. So even if it's in an Excel sheet, and make sure it's being collected and properly documented. And the starting point will be those few problems that you have in hand. And then I would expand that by collecting like things that are somewhat related, but maybe we can use it in the future related to those problems. So expand what you're collecting. And also one thing that I would recommend is, which you need permission from users, is logging. So logging clicks, logging search queries, because that can be really used to understand your customer better. So what are they searching for? Which results are they clicking on? So if you want to improve your search engine. So all that is free data, but of course, ask permission first.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Consent, that's important.
Yeah.
So now, maybe as you are the CEO of your company, so what are the common tools you use day to day, manage your business or your consulting?
Yeah, so Grammarly is a tool I use a lot because I write blogs. I write for this whole book. I needed a tool to help me out for emails. So all this little nitty-gritty things, Grammarly helps me with.
Right.
Then I also use like invoicing software. Wave is a very good one that I use. Zoom, Google Meet. I use text to voice a lot.
Text to voice. Okay.
Text to voice. So if I want to read through an article quickly, I just turn it to voice option.
Okay.
Or if I want to listen to my blog before publishing, it's easier for me to pick out errors, and it really boosts
All right.
productivity for me. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Great. So what are the characteristics you look into when you give your projects to these freelancers or maybe the teammates?
Yeah.
So how you decided, yeah, this best fit for this customer? What are the common criteria you look into it?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So the first thing I look for is if they can think. So if they're just coding, that is not acceptable to me. You'll have to think. Like, if I give you a problem, you might think, oh, but what if this happens? Or what if that happens? So being more customer centric, like putting yourself in the shoes of the customer based on what they want.
So, okay, maybe last couple of questions. So how you see AI progressing in the field, in the actual in an enterprise customer, apart from the hype? Are you driving with the actual use cases, or how the
Yes.
conversations are being driven?
Yes. So I always start with the use cases. So if you come to me broadly with, I want to use AI, I won't have context. So I'll say, okay, let's focus on the most problematic business function or things that from customer feedback. So let's start with your customer feedback or a business function. Let's find some use cases and let's see if AI is a good application there. Because oftentimes people think that software automation projects are AI projects, but they're not synonymous.
Right.
So yeah, helping them find the right place to use AI will give them value.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining the podcast. So now, if audiences want to reach out to you or they want to buy your book, so what is the best way, or maybe concluding remarks for someone who is looking into AI, either implementing or starting a career? What could be your concluding remarks?
So if you're starting a career in AI, I would say start with the foundations. So don't start with generative AI, start with the basics, and then work your way through generative AI, because there's a lot more to AI than just that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And once you get your foundation right, generative AI is just another tool in your box that you can use. And then think, and also make sure you using your thinking, because I think that's the most important when it comes to AI and data science, the thinking, not the coding.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes. And if you want to know more about me, you can visit my website, which has my book as well, is www.kavita-ganesan.com.
All right. Thank you so much, Kavita, for joining us and for insightful and conversation, especially helping the audiences who are starting or want to start a project on an AI rather than just focusing on generative AI. Thank you so much for joining us.